Hello again. Essay here. How many people pay attention to the Grammys? I suppose not that many. Yeah, well, they had a new Grammys award show, and you can probably guess it probably wasn't that entertaining. Well, almost not that entertaining. Because I think some people tuned in just to see the freak show, but I'm not going to get into that. But the funny thing is, the Grammys as an institution hasn't been around that long. No, it's been around since the end of the 1950s. And indeed, the name itself comes from the old gramophone record player from the early 20th century. You know, that hand crank variety? Get it? Gramophone, Grammys. Yeah. Someone trying to be cute. But anyway, this video is not so much about the Grammys in of itself. Indeed, I'm going to show you a little snippet of a video from Mark Dice, who, let's just say, he was not amused by the Grammy show that happened just recently. Okay, are you ready? Here we go.
Should I cover the Grammys? It's kind of old news by now, but I'm sure nobody in my audience wasted their time actually watching it, so maybe I will. The Grammys, like the Oscars, are just one big DEI celebration, and the big winner this year was Beyonce, who won Album of the Year after outrage last year and accusations of racism when she didn't win. She did a pretty good job of pretending to be completely shocked, but everybody knew exactly what was coming. John Rich, an actual country singer, posted on X, Twitter, maybe later this year I'll start calling it X. Folks are asking me, how do music award shows work? And he goes on to say that labels and publishers all have blocks of votes. They make deals with each other. You vote for mine, we'll vote for yours, type of thing. It has zero to do with who made the best music. Thus, Beyonce with Country Album of the Year. Nice, right? The same thing is true with the CMAs, the Country Music Awards, the ACMs, the Academy of Country Music Awards, Billboard, etc. all work the same way. Last night, the Grammys outed themselves in a big way. Of course, we can't have a major Hollywood award show without somebody celebrating transgender people.
That trans people are not invisible.
This is Lady Gaga, by the way. Lady Gag Me. Lady Caca.
Trans people deserve love. The queer community deserves to be lifted up.
See, you have to celebrate them. Went from it's nobody's business what two consenting adults do in the privacy of their own bedroom to you must celebrate them. It's mandatory. And of course, there was sympathy expressed for the criminals that President Trump is finally rounding up and deporting. Here's Shakira.
I want to dedicate this award to all my immigrant brothers and sisters. In this country, you're loved, you're worth it, and I will always fight with you.
That's nice, lady. Just please tell them to stop committing so many crimes. Here's comedian Wayne Brady on the red carpet, who announced a few years ago that he was a pansexual, which means that he'll do anything with anybody, including someone who has no gender or both genders or has changed to genders.
You know that you're in peril right now because of the changes that are happening in our country, so be careful. Stick with your tribe. Stick where you're safe. Be with your people. Be with people that lift you up and you know that have your back. But don't let these policies, don't let what these people have to say change you or push you into a space where you can't be your authentic self.
Oh, we're tired of hearing about your authentic selves, which is why Donald Trump has banned government employees from listing their preferred pronouns on their email signatures. And no more gender non-binary classifications on passports either.
I made that decision at this point in my life as well, even though it was scary. I felt the rumblings last year. There was a part of me that said, maybe you should just shut up, Wayne.
Yeah.
Because you know that things are happening. It's hard enough being...
Oh, it's hard enough being a black man in America in the 21st century, he says. He just has it so difficult. I guess he wouldn't be interested.
Okay, you saw that. And I'm thinking, yeah, the very idea that Beyonce would earn a Grammy for Best Country Music Album, yeah, that's kind of a stretch. I mean, it's almost as much as a stretch as seeing Clint Eastwood trying to sing his way through a musical. And you say, huh? Yeah, believe me. If you ever come across a movie, Paint Your Wagon, 1970 with Lee Marvin, you've been warned. Okay. But anyway, what Mark Dice probably didn't mention in his video was that despite the lunatic fringe taking over that operation, the Grammys, they would have been like behind the curve. Yeah. Why? I think it's because they don't know how to read the room. Indeed, I remember back when I was a youngster, how people always complained how the Grammys simply just didn't know what good music was. And indeed, I remember reading about, no, this was many, many years ago, how all during the 1960s, the Grammys ignored the British invasion. You know, the Who, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, and all the Yardbirds and all those other people who came out of England. And indeed, why? I don't know. But in fact, out of all those British rockers, the Beatles were the only ones they ever gave an award to, and that was like in the late 60s, just as the band was about to break up. And who were they nominating instead? Oh, Glenn Campbell, Frank Sinatra, Bob Newhart. And you say, you mean like Bob Newhart from the Bob Newhart Show? Yeah, they gave him a Grammy for Best Album of the Year. I'm thinking, huh? Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I read that. And indeed, things got so bad at the Grammys that by the 1970s, Dick Clark, remember the guy used to hang out in Times Square waiting for the ball to drop? Yeah, he used to run a show called American Bandstand, and he got so sick of the Grammys and their nonsense that he created his own outfit called the American Music Awards, which did focus on music that people actually liked. And in the meantime, the Grammys kept missing the curve. I mean, good grief. Bands like Supertramp, Styx, ELO, Yes, the Doobie Brothers, and oh my God, David Bowie, and Led Zeppelin, and Pink Floyd. They never were nominated for a Grammy. Not once. Why? I don't know. And indeed, I think the only in fact, now I think about it, the only popular album from that period actually ever got a Grammy Award was the soundtrack to Saturday Night Fever. Disco album. 1978. Was it 77? Yeah. And let's not pretend anyone who was in the disco back in those days, oh, they loved that album. Hey, my little brother, he digged that album. I mean, he had multiple copies of that Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. And he got mighty pissed when the movie didn't win an Academy Award for Best Picture. And I was thinking at the time, why would you think they were going to give that movie an Academy Award, huh? For anything. Like I said, my little brother. But anyway. And then, of course, things continued into the 1980s. U2, the Cars, Duran Duran, the Talking Heads, the Smiths, yeah, Morrissey's old band, Ultravox. I mean, they were completely ignored. And wait for it, you ready? When the people at the Grammys tried to become hip, they added a damn hard, I think a heavy metal category. I think they actually called it hard rock, but I think they meant heavy metal. But anyway, And you would think, oh, they're going to like nominate Judas Priest or at least Iron Maiden or maybe Metallica. And you know who ended up getting the award that year? The first time out, Jethro Tull. And I remember at the time, people's jaws just hit the floor. They said, Jethro Tull, are you kidding? And of course, some of you saying, who the hell is Jethro Tull? Oh, they were this psychedelic band out of the late 60s, early 70s. And wait for it, you ready? And I have to admit, they're not a terrible band. It's just that they're not metal. They're not heavy metal. I mean, really, they just aren't. In fact, nowadays, Jethro Tull's music would be considered like alternative rock. But anyway, and the funny thing is, their best album was an album called Aqualung, which came out in 1971. And no, that particular album by Jethro Tull never got a Grammy. So there you go. I mean, that's just the way the damn Grammys rolls. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And of course, things didn't change in the 2000s. You know, outfits like Stone Temple Pilots, Nirvana, Soundgarden, but my personal favorite, Smashing Pumpkins, Radiohead, none of those guys got a Grammy. And indeed, out of all the grunge bands, only Pearl Jam got an album. And I think it was in the late 90s. Yeah. Ridiculous. And as for the beginning 2000s, oh, forget about it. Because bands like Coldplay, back when they were still putting out really good albums, you know, like was it Warm Rush of Blood to the Head? Remember that album? Yeah, that was a really good album. I like that Coldplay album. But yeah, Coldplay, White Lies, Muse, Interpol, Andrew WK. I mean, yeah, I like that guy. That guy's hilarious. They were all ignored. And indeed, the only thing that really surprised me during the early 21st century was when they finally gave Bruce Springsteen, a Grammy for Best Album. And it was it was back when George W. was still president. And of course, some of you say, who cares? Are you kidding me? Anyone who knows Bruce Springsteen will tell you that his best work was done back in the late 70s, early 80s. We're talking Darkness on the Edge of Town, The River, Born in the USA. I mean, those are like really great albums. I mean, you should listen to them sometime. And he never got an award for any of them. Never. And then that's always been the problem with the Grammys. If you're an up and coming artist and your music is really good, forget it. They don't know you, they don't see you, they definitely don't hear you. And then if you become established, maybe it'll give you an award later on in your career. And indeed, Quincy Jones, remember him? Yeah, they did that to him. Because Quincy Jones, he did some of his best work in the 1960s. And no, they didn't give Quincy Jones a Grammy in the 1960s. They did give him one in the 1990s. Yeah, it was almost like, what do they call them, one of those Lifetime Achievement Award bullshit. And I'm thinking, yeah, where were you guys 30 years ago when the guy was still putting out albums? Pfft, I mean, really, dude? And of course, you're surprised that Beyonce got her award? What do you expect? I mean, that's always been the problem with the people who run the Grammys. They're basically the whole outfit is run by a bunch of old fogies. And I'm not talking about colloquially, I'm talking about culturally. Because back in the 1960s, the people who ran the Grammys, those people grew up listening to music from the 1940s. Now, think about that. And wait for it. Beyonce winning this award is not surprising because most of the people who uh, gave her that award probably remember her from Destiny's Child. Remember that her old band from the 90s? Yeah, stuff like that. Now, of course, some of you saying, "Oh, but Taylor Swift's gotten lots of Grammys." Yeah, and how long has she been around? What, since the end of the 90s, beginning 2000s? I mean, let's not pretend. Some people dig Taylor Swift, okay? I mean, for a skinny blonde chick. But let's not forget, Taylor Swift is almost 40 years old. Yeah, she's that old. She doesn't look it, but yeah, she's that old. So don't be surprised that these people are giving Taylor Swift a bunch of Grammys, even though she's been out there putting out albums for, what, 10, 15 years. And then they finally give her a Grammy. Yeah, precisely. And as for music, that so-called new music out nowadays, personally, I'm not feeling it. Most of it's this auto-tune stuff anyway. Even though some of the earlier bands from the early 2000s are still putting out albums like Keenan and White Lies and M83. And you say M83, yeah, they're this band out of France. Wait for it. If you were watching TV anytime during Obama, you heard their music because one of their songs, oh my God, it was called Outro. You couldn't get away from it anywhere. It was appearing in commercials, movie trailers, all over the place. It was just being played to death. And wait for it. If you saw the trailer for, what was that one movie? Cloud Atlas. That damn Tom Hanks movie, really weird kind of movie. But anyway, if you ever saw the trailer for that movie and heard that like loud, almost like operatic like music in the background, yeah, that was M83. I mean, they were just totally blasting that M83's music for a while there, and now you don't hear them anymore. At least not on the radio. Why? I don't know. I guess that was their one really good song, but man, these people played that song to death. And of course, some of you saying, "Hey, what about Adele?" Yeah. Adele, she's still putting out stuff last time I checked. But the thing is, I don't think she got any. I don't know if she got any Grammys the first time out. Because, damn, I mean, I like her music, but I don't really keep up with it. Why? Let's just say I'm lazy. But still, that's, like I said, that's the stupid thing about the Grammys. And in some cases, the Grammys do some wild things. Because I remember back in the early 80s, there was this one guy called Christopher Cross, and you say, who? Yeah, precisely. He was some one-hit wonder that came out of Texas, I think it was 1980, 81. And right out of the starting gate, they practically buried him in the Grammys. I mean, I forgot how many Grammys he got. But he had a whole bunch that first year he put out that one album. And he never put out another album again. Never. And I'm thinking, yeah, all those pile of Grammys those people gave you, I mean, why should you ever put out an album again, right? Yeah, ridiculous. But of course, like I said, that is because of the Grammys doing shit like that result in the American Music Awards. And of course, some of you saying, "Oh, what about the MTV Awards?" Well, the MTV Awards initially was focusing on music, but then they started getting kind of silly. and I don't think even most people pay attention to MTV Awards anymore either. So, there you go. Now, is there music out there that doesn't sound like auto-tune shit? Well, strangely enough, if you're like a old school YouTuber, you probably heard of this guy out of England called Colin Firth. And no, he's not a singer. He's not a singer. In fact, this Colin Firth, oh my God, he's such a wild and crazy guy. And he basically makes videos of him making these crazy Ruth Goldberg contraptions out of regular household items. Like a damn, like a jet-powered wheelchair and stuff like that. And indeed, right now he's digging some crazy tunnel system underneath this house in England. I mean, if you know how I'm talking about, hey, I don't explain it to you, but for people who never heard of him, yeah, he does crazy shit like that. But the thing about Colin Firth is that in all of his videos, he's constantly playing all of this, to also a better word, eclectic music. And no, we're not talking about YouTube music. No. These are real bands, because in all his videos, you know, on the liner notes above the comment section, he actually lists the credits of all these bands and their songs that he played in his videos. And these are bands I never heard of before. And I have to admit, Colin Firth, a guy who started out as a plumber, he's got very interesting taste in music. Indeed, I think this guy easily could have been a DJ if he hadn't become a YouTuber. So there you go. But yeah, in fact, I think that's the only place I ever hear new music that's, you know, listenable. I know it sounds crazy, but it is what it is. And as for the Grammys, well, I guess as long as the music industry, you know, flips the bill to keep them in ham hocks and gravy, I guess we're stuck with them. Because when you get right down to it, ordinary people, ordinary music listening people, we don't give a toss what the Grammys think about anything, especially music. Well, that's all I gotta say about this most recent Grammy Awards. And that's my opinion.